Right, we're here with a special video today with Harinder Singh, a special guest, come along to talk to us about Sikhian media, Sikhian films. We've recorded this at the beginning of the new year, March 2008, and very happy to have our guest with us today, which happens to be Harinder Singh, all the way from Sikhri, which stands for Sikh
Research Institute.
Absolutely, welcome. And we've had a few audio sessions together, and we were very keen on putting together some video to talk about your involvement. Specifically, you've been involved in quite a lot of film productions. I'd like to ask you about what they were, what was your involvement, and generally, how do you feel about the way Sikhs are portrayed in the media?
Sure, I mean, media has become one of the, bigger tools to be utilized in projecting image, whether it's used as a tool for propaganda. Actually, some communities use that for propaganda purposes as well. But I think what Sikhs need to figure out is how to tell our own story through our own mechanisms, including whether it's using from PowerPoint presentations to films to documentaries to whatever else it is, through e-technologies if possible, and YouTube. And I was reading today that there is a competition to YouTube out there. Maybe you should look into that as well. So my involvement has been with a couple of feature films and one documentary, and essentially in a consultancy role I will talk about a couple of them, with The Widow Colony, which is a film about women voices of anti-Sikh pogroms in 1984. And there what we have done is we have taken the interviews of the survivors and the attorney who has been fighting on their behalf in last 20 years, and the filmmakers were Manmeet Singh was a director and producer was Manmeet Singh and director was Preet Kaur on that, and I was a script and production consultant on it. We raised the funds through Institute and we did the editings and the research part on it. So essentially what the film is about is there is a lot of churning of political ideas surrounding 1984, so there is a lot of punditing going on around it. But what is not happening is what do survivors think. So we took that and we contextualized it with some experts who understand the issue both from international human rights perspective as well as Indian realities on fighting injustices.
Let me just stop you there for a second and ask you about the fact that if you look at a film like that, I mean, there's not been that many films that have actually covered that particular issue. Okay, what you've done is look at it, what you've been involved in a particular angle, which is the survivors, the widows, the people that actually suffered that kind of inhumanity. And it's good to see that real, true story. Do you think there's a kind of argument that says that content like that should just kind of arrive? People should just have different angles from all different backgrounds. I know there's a film recently called Amu as well. Is it?
I was. We are part of that film too. We raised funds for it, and we were involved in promoting it as well. And that's a good creative expression of how you take, what you do usually call historical fiction, essentially.
Right.
You take something which is real, you present it in a creative manner which becomes real to the audience. So the both works are actually complementing each other, and Shonali Bose, its director, came to the premiere of Widow Colony and vice versa.
Okay.
And that's what's needed. We don't need to just have explicit things, we need those from documentation purposes and to actually have survivor voices. But additionally, we need creative approaches to these. Recently, I was a consultant, religion consultant on a feature film called Ocean of Pearls, which is directed by Dr. Sarabjit Singh Neeram. And this is another, again, creative interpretation without the preaching angles to who Sikhs are. This actually is a first feature film from Hollywood, which happens to have a lead who's a Sikh guy. But the movie is not about Sikhs or Sikhi. The movie is actually about a doctor who is it's about his development, and he's facing some ethical dilemmas on healthcare issues in America. So I mean, these are the kind of things which are needed, which, when you become part of the mainstream and you start dealing with the issues which not only are affecting Sikhs, but are affecting, like in this case, Americans. So I think newer interpretations are needed, other things are coming along. I know there's a movie out called Kamdi Kalai by Ish, and it's again, people are trying. I think newer things are happening. SikhNet started this film festival online. There's a spinning wheel going on all over North America. I think the trends are changing where people are participating in alternative ways of looking into what Sikh issues are and issues at large, and trying to do our own interpretations.
The term that's used is called VC2, which is viewer created content. Right? And the reason why I was actually going down the route of actually asking about the particular movies that are coming out, whether it be just after 1984 or in recent times, they haven't necessarily had an influence, or have they had an influence on changing the mainstream thinking that whatever actually happened was injustice. So you can consider content from the perspective of doing it because it's creative, or creating content because you think that it can motivate people or actually capture the imagination of individuals to actually drive change. So really,
I think right now what you're looking at is really initial works. You can't expect it to have large impact when these things are being introduced. As we become better at it, as we become more creative at it, as we become more adaptive in utilizing more of the skills and connecting with the audience, I think they will generate impact. I mean, let's look at a case study. Steven Spielberg didn't come out in his first day, and he didn't make Schindler's List as his first movie. He was at the height of his power before he made that movie. And let's look at when Mel Gibson made, he talked about Rusty Wallace and Braveheart. Yeah. It's after they get to certain levels in their life. So similarly, I think we are sometimes in too much hurry. We want the change to occur right away. Well, these are just tools available again.
But saying that, it also has a but saying that, there's also the fact of available funding as well. There's sometimes Art Council funding, or you've got people that back the films as well. The fact that, I'm not saying that they're going to have their own agenda, but they actually feel that it's important to inject money into that particular form of art.
And we're beginning to
making a movie like Braveheart is quite an
well,
expensive
now
film
we
to
are
make.
beginning to see that. I think as the talents and skills are coming out, as people are taking more trainings, it's more than a home video, and you will see fundings for these things. But I want to also bring another perspective into this. When you see actually movie or film or creative media stuff today, you will see almost all of these efforts are coming outside of India. And there's a reason for it, that within Indian context, when you look at the movies or the primarily movies, the image they have in Indian movies of the Sikhs, showing them as either jokers, or showing them as being somebody who is really out of their way, going out of their way to kill more Pakistanis, for example, to show how patriotic they are. It's a lot of propaganda and a lot of belittleism, I guess I'll call it.
Stereotyping and typecasting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stereotyping. It's sort of like when you will see African Americans in movies before 1960s in America. So what I think diaspora is doing is they are actually looking at some of those issues, and people are going out of their way. And then in UK, whether you like it or not, it's a separate issue. But Harinder Singh came up with a series of interpretations on, and then as being a South Asian woman, she is getting acceptability in the mainstream media as well. So I think it's really not about being in a hurry, that people need to listen to us, whether we have an agenda to convert our view or present our view or opinion. It really more is about, are we sure on how to present these stories? Are we getting trainings on being creative in these measures? And I do want to mention a Sikh inspiration regarding these things. I think most of the larger Sikh community needs to understand that creative expressions are very, very important, whether they are in music, whether they are in literature, fine arts of any kind. So I think we need to encourage our communities and other outside of the traditional lawyer, doctor, engineering streams, and go into more creative expressions as well.
There is the issue I mentioned before about the financing part of it as well. It's kind of like the cost of return as well. It's good to be creative, right? But then if someone can get a return on that investment, then maybe there needs to be enough going out there so that those that there's an art process. Do art films make money, or should they make money?
Well, that's a debate which is not exclusive to Sikhs. I mean, that issue is being faced by artists all over the world. What I do find, though, as an escapism among Sikh, Indian and Punjabi community and South Asian communities is, well, there is not enough money, but what about the talent? I think if you are talented, people do pick you up. There are film festivals all over the world, and as we are in a hurry to get recognition, I think that's the problem. People need to really work at becoming ustads, as they say in the Indian terminologies, which is, have I perfected my skills? Have I really created a new genre? Have I even contributed to anything before I expect to get returns on these things? Just like there are hundreds of doctors, not everyone makes it a big doctor. Few people become good. I'm talking about having a generic stream of people, general stream rather,